See, that's not how my life works. ठीक है, मेरा तरीका क्या होता है काम करने का? It's like I think about the skills that I like. ठीक है, the skills that are interesting. ठीक है, I learn those skills. ठीक है, and then when an opportunity arises that matches those skill sets, I'll try to take that opportunity. I'm not looking for a specific opportunity. ठीक है, that's just too boring. ठीक है, I mean, because you can get jobs for stuff like for very, very specific things. Like if you study very hard for those specific things, you'll probably get a job in that. It's like I'm not sure about that.
Prefer generalist over specialists.
I prefer generalist over. It's more like a generalist, but not like just a surface level knowledge for even those things, right? Just go deep in whatever you want to go deep, and if there's a correct job, you'll probably get that. Even without that, it's bits. I mean, I'll probably get some kind of placement at the end of it, like some kind of average level placement, because like I'm not the bottom of the barrel, okay? So I'll get some kind of average. That's what I think.
It's a good way of looking into it. But yeah, I think the saying has sort of changed, right? It used to be you have to be, jack of all trades, and you don't have to be jack of all trades. You just have to be master of a few. Yeah, one.
Whatever. Now you can't do that.
Now that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. You have to like keep your eye out for different kinds of opportunities. Who knows what can happen when?
Yeah, because sort of the main reason is internet has made it very easy to learn shit. It was very difficult to learn new shit.
Definitely.
You had to hire someone, like just think about 100, 200 years ago. If you're going to some other country, you basically had to hire someone to teach you how to speak that language. So that you could go and do business there. Now it's like you have this, small app in your phone that can do all of these wonderful things, and it's made very easy.
It's magic. It's literally magic. You can absolutely learn everything on the internet. You just have to find the right resources. Like everything is just there.
I think the biggest resource, as in to learn things, I feel is YouTube. You have ample amount of, I think, I don't remember the exact figure, but there is, I think, some billions of hours of videos uploaded every hour or something.
You can never really fully explore it. So it's just too vast. It's like all of human knowledge is there on the internet. Like in YouTube, there's like everything as a tutorial video.
Yeah,
pretty much everything.
And it's actually very empowering. I think knowledge has been very restricted to some individuals over the past 200 years. It was restricted to people in the the rulers and the clergy people around them, not really the common folks. And now it is sort of available to everyone. So it's good. It's humbling that we are in this time actually.
Definitely, it's like literally everything you can think of, like from something like, okay, so a few days ago I was just seeing this course on I think what was it, quantum mechanics, right? Quantum mechanics, like it's a full course of like 11 hours. Oh wait, was it quantum mechanics? Theory of relativity, yeah, sorry, theory of relativity, special theory of relativity, right? You know that. So it was like a full course of like 11 hours, and it was by a proper scientist, not just some random professor. It's like you can just go in there and you can completely get the whole course for free in just 11 hours. Like mind-boggling.
Yeah, I first discovered theory of relativity with that book of Walter Isaacson, the Albert Einstein book that we had.
I couldn't read it.
I was really, very, I had my own notions of, what is relativity and what does it really have to do with me. And reading that book sort of made that, very clear. So it's interesting that you can learn about very scientific things in autobiographies and be enjoyed about that, right? So yeah, I think it has like if you see them, like all of these scientists, right? They write their own books. I've seen Albert Einstein, or you can say Stephen Hawking. They've written some great books on their works, and they try to explain all of their ideas to all of us. And I think it's very fascinating because that idea originates in one person's head, and it has to travel thousands of millions of kilometers just to reach us. And now it's all there, sitting at your home. You just have to literally open your laptop up, and you have everything available for you.
That it has like fundamentally changed the speed, like the speed of civilization. It has literally changed it completely. Of course, that also gives rise to stupid people like who were hidden before. Now it's just like you can see their stupidity online.
Yeah, that's a worrying point actually. Social media sites, they have a potential of being used for all the wrong things as well.
Mm.
We've seen in 2016 Cambridge Analytica scandal where Facebook leaked all of this data, and that actually influenced the US presidential elections.
Yeah, I've heard of
These
this. Not
companies.
exactly sure what it is.
So basically what happened was Cambridge Analytica is a Russian company, and they work with the Russian intelligence, and the Russian mafia, you can say, Putin involved. And they tend to they were sort of a consumer with Facebook. They were a business on Facebook, and that's how they got access to a lot of customer data that Facebook allows other companies to access. And they used all of that tracking data to actually influence 2016 presidential elections. So Russia was involved in Trump getting elected.
It's a very weird place right now. It's like people are still figuring out exactly how it's going to fit in all together. It's like we're changing too fast to make a set of rules. It's like everything is changing too fast. And like 10 years ago, internet was a new thing. Like people are still discovering it. It was like completely unknown. Now also it's like completely unknown. It's just like a different kind of unknown.
Yeah, the things of concern have changed.
Exactly. But like,
explain internet, you had to explain what internet is. I've been through that phase, and now it's like everyone by default knows, and people have become much more technically able. So I was just saying, everyone has a device of their own, right? They carry their own identities in their pockets, and that identity actually is a reflection of who you are in many ways, right? If you open my YouTube,
it's an avatar. It's your avatar,
yeah, exactly.
Online avatar.
Yeah, but it's still these identities are there, and there is just this social media where you post stuff and all. What's the next stage of this? Everyone has their device, but they're not really connected to each other all the time. Like about your moments and all, but you're not experiencing things together. I think that's the next phase where you and I sitting thousands of miles away, and we can sort of experience things together. So if I'm eating something, you can have that experience. If I'm smelling something, you can have that.
It's like, okay. So you're saying like kind of transmitting one's experiences through internet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if that could really happen, what would be the first thing that would arise? Sword Art Online. It's an anime. Okay. Sword Art Online. It's an anime if you have heard about it. Okay. It's basically the concept of virtual virtual games, but like full life systems. Basically you get all the instead of the 4D, like the cheap 4D things are there, right? Instead of that actual experience, like you can move in the game by thinking about moving in the game, right? If you can transfer the experiences, you can then engineer the experience of touching something, so you can like create a proper game inside that, a virtual world. Well, that is the thing I'm waiting for, man. It's like it would be completely different. Like you might have seen the movie Ready Player One.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? More like much more effective, I guess.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Minecraft where you're also there. You are in there.
So yeah, exactly. It's like virtual worlds.
It's a sandbox. You can think of your ideas and just portray it there. That would so let's just say, right, everyone has an avatar on that fictional world. So people who are bad, who have bad emotions right now, they're dealing with something, or people like mass shooters and all, everyone who is in the negative aspect somehow, where they can do harm to the society. Don't you think this is a very good social tool as well, where governments and these big companies, they can track what you're feeling by what you're doing around you in that game? It's very easy that if you're so it's a world 200 years from now, everyone is very hooked into that system. They have created their own worlds inside those games. And the people who are, working on weapons and who want to destroy and everything, they have their own worlds inside where they're actually planning all of this, meeting with meeting with a few of their friends virtually and doing all of that. Now government has, access to all of that. These companies have, so it might even help stopping all of that to, function, just because.
Yeah, it could help that, but it could also increase the reach, of these organizations. Like if you in the show just now, like Marvel's Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? The main antagonists were.
I see it.
Huh?
I've not seen it. I have to make up my mind for Marvel.
I know.
I don't have
It's fine. It's fine. I'm just telling, like, the thing was, the main antagonists are basically a group of terrorists, right? And the terrorists have this much reach just because of the, like, social media, like internet. Okay, they have this much reach. But like, if you can actually interact with people as well online, like the virtual worlds you're saying, right? So if you can interact, then they will have much more chances to spread their propaganda, right? They don't have to be overt about it, right? They can be like, they can work in secrecy and just expand their ideas. So I don't think it would really change the, like, the government control over it. It might, but then that would be probably, people will come to stop it because it would be too, what was it, inhumane, right? Everyone wants their privacy. Like right now, we are just like, companies are just taking data, and everyone is like going bonkers, or is like, no, you can't take our data. Just imagine what will happen if they are tracking our emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These companies already have a lot of data about us, and we're very
exactly. And we like, there's obviously a lot of voices about this, a lot of questions, a lot of ethical implications, right? So just imagine the next step when their emotions. Like, obviously, everyone will be the first person to try to stop this. I don't think it would ever really come to effect. If you want to see what would happen,
we don't know. As till the time we think a capitalist society is the best way to be, it will some way or the other come into the world. Like if the technology is developed, there are two things. If the technology is developed first, and if the regulations approve it, it's like self-driving cars, right? We're almost there. But the government is very different.
But self-driving cars don't have the ethical problems, like that kind of, like the ethical problem.
They might have, for some reason. So for example, if you take a hypothetical situation where there's this car self-driving, and that's going down the street, and it knows that someone has hit it somehow, and now it's sort of in a free fall motion. It's sort of in that path, and now it has two options. So it's heading towards this woman who is standing on the street, a pedestrian heading towards that. So one way is to kill her, go crushing her, and then save the person in the car. Let's go hit that tree, and this person in the car dies. Now what will it do? Because there are two lives here.
No, let me ask you the question. Let me ask you the question. Let me ask you the question for that. What would a human do in that condition?
If as the car guy, probably I'm responsible for my own, so I would not. I don't know.
But would you kill yourself? Like severely injured? You will never. You're obviously,
exactly, that's
like
what
most
I'm saying.
people.
I might just drive over that woman.
Exactly. It's very questionable in both situations, right?
Yeah.
Like if you try to like go into the wall or something, people will say you're suicidal. They won't call you a hero or something, obviously. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. No matter what choices they make, like the AI, it will probably, if I were to say the truth, it would probably try to like save the owner of the car, right?
Yeah.
Because they are the ones who paid for the car.
Yeah.
Right? So it wouldn't really be that much of an ethical problem. I can't really say that much, but like it's very confusing, obviously.
Yeah, these are.
But the thing is,
no one has answers.
But the thing is, it is very gray area. But tracking your emotions, that's like straight up very black. Okay, there's nothing gray about that.
Yeah. So you were talking about animes, and sort of they're very popular in India. So do you have a few? Which anime are you currently watching right now?
Currently, I'm not really watching any anime right now. It's surprising. But I'm about to.
You watched
Last?
Last anime that you watched? Because see, my
Last,
fascination with animes is, the variety that you have. I've heard a lot of different, completely unique kind of animes, and I want to start
okay, yeah. So let me tell you the last anime I watched, and you will say the premise of this is like completely stupid. Okay, so a person dies, right? They get reincarnated into a fantasy world, but they are a spider.
Okay.
They are reincarnated as a spider. Okay, that's the main premise. It's like, what? And it's
You have
completely
literally
brutal.
anything in animes.
Yeah. In fact, we were talking about the situation, right? If people control our emotions, like they monitored it. There is literally an anime called Psycho-Pass. It is exactly that, like 100% exactly that.
Yeah,
There's a
this.
system called Sybil system in that, okay, and it monitors people's emotions constantly. So if someone's like goes over to like the dark side, like it's too much, so they just dispatch people to kill them.
Kill
They
them.
can just kill them or incapacitate them, whatever is possible. It's that like just very weird, and it exists. That's the weird thing. It's like if you're talking about anime, almost everything is an anime. Like think about sports. Every kind of sports is an anime.
Yeah, I've also seen different sports of football. I've seen volleyball. I've heard of volleyball. I haven't seen it. Volleyball,
That's the best animes. Like that's the best sports anime.
the volleyball one.
Yeah,
What's the name of that anime?
Haikyuu.
Haikyuu. I'm going to watch that for sure.
That is literally the best sports anime. That and there's another one called Slam Dunk. That's obviously basketball. There's comparisons between that, but I think the animation quality of Haikyuu just takes it to the next level. Something else entirely.
Yeah, I think animes have that lot of freedom in them, right? That's not their
Mhm.
traditional, Bollywood, Hollywood, or the typical ways. Even Disney is very restricted in terms of what they do as creative.
Yeah, yeah,
They are very restricted in
definitely.
terms of characters they introduce every year and everything. But Japan has, combined, it has a lot of firepower in it, I would say. Yeah.
Even the thing is like the art style. Okay, it's like anime have this unique benefit of like suppose they have a very serious art style going on, a very serious scene, right? They can just change the art style completely for a few seconds and like change the emotions completely.
Yeah.
Like they have the special tool that most other media just does not have.
Yeah. Also, I think I'm not sure of this, but in an anime animation, not the manga,
Mhm.
but the animation.
Mhm.
So in that, is it like every frame is drawn by hand, or how does that string up? Like how does that happen?
Yeah, they're actually like if I remember correctly, they're 24 or 25 frames, right, per
In
second.
one second, okay.
Yeah, 1 second, right? So they're all hand drawn.
So, for example, it's a 16-minute episode, or for the sake of simplicity, let's say it's a 20-minute episode. So you have
Okay.
20 minutes, every minute has 60 seconds. So you have 1200
Mm.
approximately seconds, and in every one of them, they have 25 frames.
Yeah.
So that's around 30,000 images approximately every time.
See, the thing is, obviously, like it's that much there, but other than that, sometimes there are some kind of scenes like they will have just one big, like a large drawing, like a large frame, basically, and they will move the camera, like the panning shot. Okay, so that way they won't have to draw all the frames, right? But if suppose there's a character moving, right? So they'll have foreground and background, right? They'll probably what as far as I'm aware, they'll probably just make like a large frame for the background, so it would be one picture. But the foreground characters they'll have to make for every frame. So it would still be a lot of frames. So it's like it's very difficult to say. But yeah, about as much as you say, like 30,000 frames per episode, and like even the minimum anime has like 12 episodes minimum.
These people in Japan are really talented. That's what I have, you know,
It's
I
more
have
like they're
made that
overworked.
conception in my head, because if you see
Yeah.
the entire animation, the drawing part of it is really, complex. The voice part of it is really fascinating as well.
Yeah,
So
the voice acting, I definitely think that Japan is like on the next level. Like whenever you compare, like whenever you ask an anime watcher, right? like almost every single one will say that you have to watch subs, not dubs. Okay,
Yeah.
basically you have to watch with subtitles
Yeah.
because the quality is simply different. I mean, it's surprising how different it is.
Yeah, that's true. Also, these artists, right, who are saying all of this. So the fact
Mhm.
that I know is a lot of these different characters have the same person doing that voice. So, for example, I'm not sure you might know the list, but Goku's voice, the woman who did it actually, not the man.
Yeah, I know.
So a voice for other characters, other popular characters as well, right?
And it's like a good voice actor can have anywhere between 30 to 40 characters.
Any common link, any popular anime characters that you have?
For example, let me think. There are very, for example, there's One Piece, right? The very popular anime, obviously, and manga, in fact, more popular. This one of the main characters. That's also one of the main characters in Gintama. That's also one of the popular anime. It's like you can sometimes just identify it. Also, this is the same actor. You know the game that came out just now. It was a samurai game. What was it called? Let me just take it out. I know the samurai game. It just came out right now.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Google away. That's the best thing that we do.
Ghost of Tsushima, right? It was just like a very popular, like I think last year. Ghost of Tsushima. The main character of this was also the same character as the other two.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that they have a lot of roles. It's just like an actor, like
Yeah,
an
but
actor can
if their
have
voices are
a
really good, they're able to modulate all of that really well. It's a gift.
it's practice, talent, whatever. I seriously have no idea. It's like it's completely different from like what I can even imagine.
Yeah,
Mind
I
blowing.
I think it's usually practice. Uh,
I guess
I don't I have started to believe that practice is much more important than talent.
yeah, I also
Talent
believe that. Yeah.
does not really you don't believe that?
I think practice is much more important. Talent is like
Exactly.
it just increases the speed of your understanding thing, but like learning something. But at the end, it's practice that counts.
Yeah, there's this very popular, sort of comparison. So, someone who wants to be a writer, he writes
Hmm?
365 pages in a year, one essay or one letter every day that he wants to improve. And would he be a better writer, or someone who writes one letter taking 365 days and just coming out with one thing? So practicing, working on that every day, that grit, that's what actually brings
If you
out.
take if you take YouTube as an example, like I was just listening to another podcast a couple of days ago. So basically, like if you like take out say 10 low quality videos, low quality in the sense like not too like to no not too checked. Okay, it's like just tried their best at once and just publish it. Okay, and compare it to that to one really hard work video. There's a better chance that one of those 10 will do better.
Yeah.
There's a good chance because that's just how it works. Like if you keep changing things, one of the things will come out to be good. So if you keep practicing, you can just like you get that one thing, you take it out, you see what's good about that, you focus on those, so you can play to your strengths, right? So that's why I think practice is more important.
Yeah, practice is it's something that you don't really understand when you're a kid. When I was a kid, I never had that conception in my head that practice is much more important. I used to think talent. I might be talented. That's why I'm acing in my test. Or he might be talented. That's why he's running the football team or whatever like that. That sports guy. So it's much more practice rather than talent. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, definitely you might have predisposition towards some things. Like you will definitely do better at some things and not do better at other things. But yeah, that's a gap that can be bridged with practice. At least I believe that.
Yeah. In the past days, like, at least for the past 1 and 2 months, crypto has been a very hot burning topic in the entire chain, the maximum number so basically now it's a different thing how you observe things. So the thing that gets the maximum number of memes is really the one that's, trending. Rather than news articles, we are looking for memes to actually understand what's trending.
Yeah, you have just come here, man. I've been in this state for like a year or more than that.
Probably
I've
more.
been getting my news.
Yeah, memes is a very good source of news. Actually, they make the news so small to digest that you can get it, and if you're interested, you can go ahead and always search more about it.
Exactly. It's very weird. Like, see, basically anything major political happens, like anything major at all happens in the world, right? Suppose there's like a big volcano erupted somewhere, right? Like there'll probably be a meme there somewhere. Like I just scroll and I see, oh, there's a meme. Oh, this happened. Like I get to know it very fast. It's weird. I never watch news. Okay, I have never watched news in my life. I just don't like it. It's very boring.
Cool. We'll take our first break right now. You know why Mona Lisa is very popular? Why is Mona Lisa sort of this very popular painting that it had? You
I
know,
don't
it's the
know.
most valuable painting in the world, actually.
Is it because of the weird expression or something? I don't know. I just heard that it has a weird expression.
Actually, there are very different sort of a things, reasons why Mona Lisa is very popular. So first is it was created by Leonardo da Vinci. So you have that
Obviously.
fanfare around all of that. There are some other incidents also. So Mona Lisa was briefly hung in Napoleon Bonaparte's bedroom. It was a painting that was there in his bedroom, and that's one of the reasons why it got very popular. That there's this painting that he likes very much. There's this painting that he likes very much, and that's how the started. So a lot of these paintings have very unique stories behind them. You also have Starry Night, which was painted by Vincent van Gogh, and a lot of these different artists have different ways of expressing themselves. So what is that one or two ways in which you like expressing it? It can be painting, it can be drama, it can be music, whatever. Something that you like on how people express themselves.
Like me personally.
Yeah, you personally.
Yeah, I just like anything, like any way that I can express myself. Basically, the way I work is like I see something, right? And I think, oh, that's beautiful. Like I want to do the same thing then. I see a good image, then I want to draw a painting of that. I see a really good, like very good music. Okay, so I see a like very sweet melody or something like that. I want to try playing it. So that's how it is.
You are yourself a painter, not a painter, but what do you say? Digital artist.
I guess
Yeah. So then
amateur
remember
digital
that painting that
artist.
you did, right? Of what was that painting about? Like it looked very similar to Starry Night. Like the vibe was similar, but what did it entail?
Ah, you mean the painting of the Milky Way?
This is the Milky Way. Yeah, it's on top of Santorini, which is a very popular
Yeah, yeah,
destination. It's very
yeah,
wide.
yeah,
Very, let me just do one thing.
definitely.
I'll just present that here. That would be very interesting. Share screen. Yeah. So yeah, this is the painting that we were talking about. And so yeah,
Yeah.
tell us about this painting.
First of all, basically, I think this is my best work yet, like ever.
For sure.
I don't think I've ever made anything this good. Other than that, I think what happened was one day I was scrolling on Reddit like I usually do, and I saw basically a picture of Santorini, Greece. Basically, this picture,
Yeah.
right? It was a picture, and I was like, it just looked so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just like if you search Milky Way, then it will come automatically.
Oh, Milky Way only directly.
Milky Way Santorini, Greece, basically.
Yeah, that's okay. The main point is, that this combination of Santorini. So Santorini I've usually seen in the mornings. That's the usual depiction of white walls and everything.
Yeah, it's very like pristine. If I had to say a word
Yeah.
for Santorini, it's like it looks very pristine. And then I just saw it's like the picture, and I was like, this is way too beautiful to not draw. Like that's how I felt.
Yeah.
So I started drawing it. That's all, I guess.
And Santorini is a village, right? It's not some very posh place, I think, right?
I have honestly no idea. It doesn't matter to me. It's like the sky is the main thing. In fact, in Starry Nights as well, the foreground is very different. Like but it's not important. Okay, like the background is the important thing. It's a similar way.
Yeah, this is another painting. What is this about?
This is just a experiment, you can say. Basically, what I did was, so for that other painting, for the Santorini Greece one, I was looking for some brushes, right? Basically, the brushes, it's like to use in Creta, right? There are many different types of brushes, right? You can use to give this actual painting type feel instead of a digital art. So I just found some brushes and I was just like, I was seeing let's see what these brushes can do. And I just started making them, and the other one just happened. It like was a 45 minutes work. I have no idea what it is. I just thought, look good. It was actually just very low effort and just trying out the brush kind of thing.
Yeah. This is a photo, right? This is not a painting or something, or is it a painting? It looks like a painting.
This is a painting. This is not a photo.
Who did it? You did it.
Yeah, obviously.
You painted this.
So yes, obviously it's on my Instagram, right?
Okay, but like this is really like it's very close to what is it, Natsuki, right? Natsuki.
Yeah, Natsuki.
So he is very similar to what you have made. I thought it's sort of a a photo and then someone
No.
like tuned it, and
No.
that's how it's.
In fact, if you want to, you can check out the whole process on my YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, I'll link that video in the description for sure.
I mean, yeah, this is also the same thing. I just saw a tweet from the Abroad in Japan channel, basically. And in that tweet, it was his photo. And I was just like, man, it's like this photo looks very picturesque. So I was like, and I have to draw it.
Yeah.
And then Natsuki is that kind of character.
Right? You have like there's this guy in Japan. What's the name? Abroad in Japan or something.
Yeah, Abroad in Japan.
So what does he do? What's this guy all about?
He's a vlogger. He's a simple vlogger. Like Japan's, he just goes to different places in Japan and explores them. And the thing about the channel is that he shows the things like you wouldn't really normally see. Like you think about Japan, it's like, yeah, Tokyo, like so Shinjuku, maybe there's a very busy crossing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's like very what is it, cliche kind of thing. He goes to different places, like for example, he has made videos about raw horse meat.
Okay.
Like the raw horse meat. I think you can see it in a couple of it. I don't know. It's like raw horse meat. Okay, so those kind of videos, those very hidden places in Japan, and he's just an amazing presenter. You can just tell that he enjoys what he's doing.
Yeah. YouTube has given a lot of creatives, very good space to share and, somehow make a living from that. That's very empowering, actually.
This is amazing. It's like if you could just make a living from your YouTube, that's so empowering. As you said, it's like you can do what you love, like completely, and you can get paid for it. Like even if you have an actual job that you love, it's still much more better than, because you have an added degree of freedom.
Yeah. Earning from your YouTube channel, that's sort of the dream, the millennial dream, not the American dream.
Definitely, like the millennial dream, truly. Like you can literally do anything. Like people just play games and they can get money because they're presenting it in a good way. Like I think one of the YouTubers that I watched just said this, when you can make sorting your closet entertaining, then you can be sure that you'll be successful as a YouTuber. Because that's what they do, right? That's what they do. It's like there's nothing special about what they're doing. It's just the way they're presenting it is eye-catching.
Yeah. I will definitely explore abroad in Japan more. I watched a few videos with you, and for those of you who don't know, he's my brother. I never mentioned that. What to do it. And yeah, so basically we watched some of these videos together, and I watched some of them when I got here. So I'm going to start that. I think the 2,000 kilometers on a cycle, something, right?
You can watch the second one. The second one's better because it's shorter.
just send me the link and I'll put it in the description.
Definitely.
Send it across. Yeah. Thanks a lot for joining. It was really fun chatting.
I enjoyed it.
It was fun.